Welcome to the Journey podcast, where we share some of the most inspiring stories on the planet, life lessons, and tools that will help you navigate through your own personal journey. I am your host, Josh Valentine.
You guys are going to really get so much value. So take notes. Take notes. The weakest ink is stronger than the strongest memory. And you want to take notes because if you don't, you're not going to retain the vast majority of this information. So get on the edge of your seats. Give it up for the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Monty!
Yeah! Let's go! Let's go! Yeah! Make some noise, y'all! Yeah! Let's go!
God made a way.
What's up, man? What's up?
Let's do it.
Get it.
Isn't this exciting, guys? This is exciting.
Let's go. Y'all better make noise. I was going to tag y'all, so I'm going to tag y'all on Instagram. You want to get tagged, you got to make noise, yeah.
Wow. This is surreal. I remember the company that I helped scale to $1 billion a year, Monty was a part of that movement. And it's so incredible how things come back full circle. Because during the pandemic, nobody was traveling. So we ended up pivoting. A lot of us in that community just pivoted and went different directions. And I've got people that got into trucking. My best friend got into trucking. And I have people that got into coaching, consulting, speaking, a lot of phenomenal individuals. And Monty has been one of those guys that I've been able to watch from afar. I remember you reaching out to me and asking me how I went about building my community, my following.
Yeah.
And within just about a 1-year time frame, I saw him scale his brand to over 100,000 people on Instagram, right? Organic, just from adding pure value. So, Monty, where do we start? Where do we start, brother? Let's take the people back to little Monty. Give us a little bit about your story, your backstory. Did you grow up with a silver spoon? Where'd you grow up? Right? Give us a little bit about how things were for you growing up.
Yeah. Absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me, man. This is amazing. Like you said, full circle moment here. And appreciate all y'all being here. Give yourselves a round of applause for real. Putting yourself in the right place. So Little Lamont, right? Little Lamont. Damn it, I just gave y'all my government. Don't y'all, I don't know who's watching this live. Don't go look at me. But Little Monty, grew up in a family household, sports family. I grew up playing basketball, doing karate, baseball, those types of things. Naturally, I was always the class clown. I was always the one that was bringing the comedic relief to the family. I asked my mom recently, I was like, what was the funniest moment, or what was the moment that you realized that I was going to be like somebody, or like somebody funny or whatever? And she said, I think it was kindergarten, she said, after I got my diploma, I went on stage and started doing the butterfly. And that was when she knew like I was going to be like a funny kid and, an entertainer. And that's taken me really far. And, you'll hear more about it as we go along in the conversation. But I mean, there's just so much to unpack. I played basketball my entire life. I was blessed to get a 4-year basketball scholarship, play Division II basketball. So my parents didn't have to pay for school for me. In college, I got into acting and I got into comedy. So I did stand-up comedy for about 6 or 7 years. Did shows with, people like Jay Farrow and Pete Davidson, some names you might know today if you're a comedy fan. I think at one time I was ranked top 10 up and coming comedians in New York City. And I transitioned out of that, got into the company that Josh mentioned that we helped scale to $1 billion. And that's when I got my first taste of entrepreneurship and discovered the depths of personal development and team building. And really just kind of going, coloring outside the line, stepping outside of the box and pursuing a dream of your own. In every single one of these things that I'm telling you, between basketball and then comedy and then, the business that we were in every single one of those ventures, I thought that was it. I thought that was what I thought I was going to be in the NBA or at least go overseas. I did have the opportunity to go overseas, but my passion wasn't there anymore. Then I thought I was going to be a top stand-up comedian up there with Eddie Murphy and Kevin Hart doing big films. That didn't happen. thought I was going to be a multi-millionaire from the company that we were in. That didn't happen. So I kept going through a lot of phases where I was like, yo, I don't know what my purpose is. And it wasn't until I got started with what I do now that I realized every single one of those chapters in my life, they gave me tools, they gave me information, they gave me blessings and transformation that allowed me to do what I do now at the highest level. So if there's anything that you get from what I talk about and from what I just said, just understand that if you're in a season of unknowing and uncertainty, trust that God is molding you into somebody and putting you in a season of challenge and growth so you can acquire skills that he needs you to have so that you can do what you're going to do in the next chapter at the highest level.
Absolutely. Amazing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, y'all ain't know I was deep like that, did you?
So, brother, now Instagram. Instagram. Anybody got an Instagram handle? Instagram page? Right? And I know some people are very intimidated by Instagram, and at some point in time, you didn't even have 1,000 followers, let alone over 100,000 today.
Right.
And I think last I checked, it was over 200,000. Something like that. Where are you currently?
Yeah, call it out. That's the vision.
Yeah,
I'm not there yet, but I'm working there.
Yeah, so over 100,000 on your way to 200,000.
Yeah.
And it started picking up. And why Instagram? Why Instagram specifically? You could really specialize in YouTubing. You could specialize in TikTok, but why Instagram?
Great question. I think naturally I gravitate towards Instagram for like building my coaching business and my professional creator business, because I was already doing stuff on Instagram before I became a coach. Before the pandemic actually happened, my wife and I started a foodie page. And just for fun, because we always connected over food. We like going to new restaurants and trying new things. And I always had a creative instinct, so I would start taking pictures. And I was like, yo, I'll be going online. I'll be going on Instagram. And I see people out here just posting pictures of hot dogs and cheeseburgers, and they're getting paid thousands of dollars. Like, we can do this too. So I started taking it a little bit more serious. We set up our account. I started taking pictures and videos, started reaching out to restaurants. And, gradually we started getting invited out to eat at these restaurants for free. And these restaurants would give us $200, $300, $400 budgets to just try as much food, take as much pictures, and give like a review on our page. And we realized, okay, social media is powerful. Instagram is great. Businesses need this, especially in the restaurant space. So we started working with a lot of restaurants. We ate tens of thousands of dollars worth of free food. We made thousands of dollars doing like different types of brand partnerships and stuff. So that was my first real journey of taking Instagram serious to build some type of brand. I didn't really know exactly what I was doing, but I just knew that it was working. And when the pandemic hit, I was doing solar at the time. I was selling residential solar, and the company I was working with kind of slowed down, and my clientele slowed down. So I was at home. I was living off that government cheese. Okay, don't act like you ain't been there. None of y'all been there. Okay, getting the PPP. Some of y'all owe on the PPP still, don't y'all? We can talk about that later. So I did the PPP thing, and after a while, I just wanted something more for myself. At the time, I was in my late 20s. I want to say maybe like 29, 30. My wife and I, she was my girlfriend and then fiance at that time. We were living in a room in my mom's apartment. So, me just being an ambitious person and, really wanting to be a leader, right? Like it weighed on me. I'm like, oh man, I'm that dude that's living with his mom and I'm not worth nothing. I need to do something with my life. So I had a lot of depressing moments where I wasn't really aware of what my purpose was or what my value was, or I stopped seeing my value because of the environment that I was in. And that's another point for y'all. Like, don't let, the what you see in your eyes in front of you, whatever circumstance you're in, don't let that blind you from the vision that God actually has for you, right?
Absolutely.
So when the pandemic hit and I kind of got into a funk, I just made a decision. I was like, you know what? I want to start my own business, right? I have a little bit of experience with that from doing direct sales and things like that. I want to start my own business. I want to use my own gifts. I want to help people, and I want to make money while I'm doing it. What can I do? What do I have proof of concept from? And I reflected on what my wife and I had done with our foodie page, and I was like, hey, everybody's stuck at home. People are spending more time on social media than ever before. A lot of people are trying to start their own business because these jobs ain't loyal, right? So maybe I could kind of help them get started. And I was nowhere near the level of an expert that I'm at now. But let's say I was at a level 4. I knew I could help people who are at a level 0 to level 3, right? So I just started there, and I started working with my friends so that I didn't embarrass myself, and I could get some transparent feedback, and they all had good responses. They all gave me good feedback and said, yo, like, you really need to take this to the next level. And that's what I did.
That's incredible, brother. Now, in terms of people who are here, there are a lot of people here that want to scale their Instagram pages, right? Anybody want to grow their Instagram? I mean, I want to grow, and I know you can add a lot of value from that sense. This is what you get paid the big bucks to do today. What advice would you give for someone who's, let's say, a bit intimidated about scaling? And, Instagram could be a little stingy with the algorithm. So what would you recommend in terms of people who genuinely want to get more followers, they want to get more engagement? What would be some tips that come to mind?
Yeah. And just like I teach, like when I work one-on-one with people, before you get into the technical stuff and the strategic stuff, like, you have to make a decision in your mind that you're going to really be in this for the long haul, and that what it is that you want to build a brand around and make an impact from is something that you're passionate about, and you're going to be doing it for a long period of time. And then you also have to think about what you're losing and what you're missing out on if you don't get on social media, right? Because the world is changing, right? Everybody has a phone in their hand. Everybody's going on social media. The next, like, millennials, right? Who in here is a millennial? Who in here is Gen X, right? Who in here is Gen Z? Y'all probably don't even know that you're Gen Z, but like, the next generation of consumers, they're not opening up newspapers or magazines. They're going to TikTok. They're going to Instagram. They're going online, and they're going there to validate your existence and to validate your credibility and whether or not they should actually buy products from you. Mm-hmm. So your presence on social media and the way people interact with your brand on social media play a role in whether or not you're going to be able to acquire clients and consumers in the future. So you have to look at it from that perspective in terms of, wow, if I don't go on social media, it won't be long before nobody can find me, right? And social media is an accelerator in terms of your brand awareness, in terms of your marketing strength, right? In terms of your ability to reach more people, impact more people, and therefore acquire more leads and generate more income. So part of it is, are you going to be doing this for the long haul? Or is what you're doing right now just an experiment for you? Or are you actually passionate about it, right? Are you really out here to impact people? And then you have to think about, what if I don't put myself on social media? How many people will I not impact because I don't show up there?
Absolutely. Really, really good. What would you say is the benefit for your business owner today? It's interesting. I went to a print shop. I had to print out a certificate at a print shop, and this print shop in the Bay Area had been around since the 80s. And I can tell by the questions I had asked the brother at the print shop, I was actually going to invite him to the conference, but he's an older guy and just very closed off to doing anything with technology. What are the ramifications of not leveraging Instagram? How much money is being left on the table by not leveraging it?
Man, that's a great question. I mean, it could be tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands to millions, depending on what type of business that you're in. And I know I'm familiar, like I've spoken to a lot of people that are from an older generation or a more mature generation, and they don't really get it, right? But like I said, unless you have a business that's already established, it's making hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars, you need to get on social media. And if you're somebody who's not really tech savvy, or maybe you are from a more mature generation, well, there's a lot of young individuals that you can hire that are familiar with social media. You can bring them on your team and let them handle all the social media stuff for your business and help you build the brand. So it doesn't always have to be you. You can go find somebody else, but you have to be on social media if you want your business to be relevant 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now.
Absolutely. As the leading expert, or one of the most sought out leading experts on Instagram, what do you see as the future for Instagram?
Yeah, I think a lot of community building, right? Community building is extremely important. That's kind of the approach that I take now, right? So I have more of a personal brand that I'm building, but I'm very focused on community and culture, right? People want an authentic feel when they interact with your brand, right? People want to see the behind the scenes. People want to see the journey. People want to see the process of your products and services being made. They want to see the behind the scenes of you interacting with your customers and clients. And I think that if you really want to have a strong foundation in the social media space as a whole, you really need to focus on building a community within your brand. Make people feel like they're a part of your brand. Make people feel like they need to keep coming back to interact with your brand. And one of the most powerful ways to do that is through your content, for sure.
Absolutely. What would you say are some of the biggest misconceptions about Instagram or just social media in general?
I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that you need an extremely large following to make money. You don't. We're in an age where people are making multiple six figures in digital marketing, affiliate marketing. You've got 10-year-olds that are making seven figures reviewing Pokemon cards and games and toys and things like that. You can literally now, because social media is becoming such a very big space and it's so in high demand for like bigger companies that actually do see the vision, there's a lot of room for something called UGC, which is user generated content, where you don't have to have a big following. You just have to be decent or good at creating content and presenting, positioning someone's products and services in an appealing way in the form of content. And businesses will pay you anywhere between $200 to $2,000 to create one piece of content for them. So if anything, you need to get good or decent at creating content. And I think there's a huge opportunity for anybody to be able to make money if they take it serious.
Definitely. Anybody find it getting more and more challenging to get views on Instagram and just engagement on Instagram in general? Anybody experiencing that? Sometimes I struggle with posting things that genuinely matter to me and then posting things that are sort of like clickbaity, because it seems as if the stuff that gets a lot of views, it's like a lot of clickbait. And for me, I never really resonated. It's kind of cringy, the clickbait stuff. So I mean,
like the dance stuff, like the
yeah, or even the transitions, right? Even some of the transitions, like everybody's jumping on the same trends, the same transitions, and for me, social media has always been a form of digital expression.
Yeah.
It's been digital journaling for me. I more so use social media just to showcase my life. I want my kids to sort of look back at my legacy through my social media, right? And what would you say in terms of someone who wants to grow, but they don't want to follow all of the trends? They want to just build organically. They want to just do things that resonate with them.
Yeah.
Where do you kind of draw the line there?
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky, right? Because there's nothing set in stone. There's a lot of gray areas when it comes to building a personal brand, but it also depends on your perspective, your wherewithal in terms of what you're doing. You don't have to color inside the lines. You can use social media for your own personal expression, but you have to understand that some people may not resonate with your personal expression, right? Some people may not like the way you deliver information. Some people may not like the information you deliver. Some people may not like your face. Some people may not like your voice. No, this is real talk.
Yeah.
This is real talk, right? This is stuff that nobody wants to hear, right? I'm the guy, I'm the coach that I'm going to keep it real. Now, I'm not going to tell you it's your face. I'm not going to say that when we're working together, right? I'm going to find a different way to kind of help you navigate that. But at the end of the day, like, people are people, and you are not going to be liked by everyone. How many of y'all have walked down the street today or yesterday and there were more people that walked past you and paid you no attention than people that stopped and said hi? Yeah. It happens every single day. But when people get on Instagram, they think everybody's supposed to stop what they're doing and give them attention.
Absolutely.
Right? So you got to be real about it. Your information or what you're passionate about talking about may not be something that a lot of people are passionate about talking about. So you have to either accept that and just keep going until you attract people who are appreciative of the information you deliver and how you deliver it, or you have to change what you're talking about, or you have to get better at talking about what you're talking about. But something has to change. And when it comes to content, Josh, like, you have to give or deliver your content in the way people want to receive the content. A lot of times people want to share content the way they want to because that's what's comfortable, or their pride tells them that that's what's right, but it's not in alignment with the way people consume content. Some people here, if you're long-winded, raise your hand. If you like to talk a lot, right? Well, on social media, you really got like 15 seconds to get your point across. You got 3 seconds to grab your audience's attention. So if it takes you 30 seconds to get to the point of what you're talking about, you're going to lose a lot of people, no matter how important or how valuable what you're talking about is, right? So there's always room for improvement. And going back to giving the information or delivering the value in the way that people want to receive it, right? Let's use an analogy. How many of y'all like lasagna?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Imagine you run a restaurant, right? And one of your specialties is lasagna. You're not really good at presentation. So what you do is you put the lasagna in a blender and then you pour it in a cup and you hand it to your customer. And your customer's like, I don't want this. But you're like, look, it's still lasagna. It's really good. It tastes good. It goes down the same way. Like it's lasagna. They don't want it. You got to slice it up in a nice square. Put some leaves around it. Garnish it. Take some of that sauce and drizzle it around and present it to them, right? But some of your skill set is on blender level.
Mm.
But you don't want to go back to culinary school and learn some real skills.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with content. Some of y'all are just struggling because you are unwilling to learn new things. And you keep giving yourself excuses to not be successful. Oh, I'm too old to learn how to do this editing stuff. Oh, I don't have enough time. Anything that's worth you accomplishing and reaching in your life is worth the time it takes to get good at whatever it is that's going to get you there. I'll digress.
So good, so good. You guys getting value so far? All right. All right, so I have a few questions before we bring it in for a landing.
Yeah.
On the topic of education, you have an amazing mastermind community where you teach people a lot of these concepts. And I'm curious, what do you teach the novice? What do you teach the person who's just starting out and maybe they have about 200 followers and they have aspirations to grow a massive following and build their brands and build their businesses? What would you recommend as the fastest path to that result?
Right. Yeah, that's a great question. And again, there's no concrete time period that it's going to take. You're going to grow based on your journey, right? Everybody's journey is different. And it also depends on what your niche is, what your brand is about, and the level of demand there is in the marketplace for it. But in terms of just getting started on the path of creating content that's going to actually attract followers and attract leads and attract sales, first you got to develop some core skills. Like I think video content is the most impactful content that you can put out on social media, especially on Instagram. Of course, you can do your graphic stuff like carousels and single graphic posts, but if a picture can say 1,000 words, I feel like a video can say 1,000,000, right? It just allows you to portray yourself and convey your message in a much more impactful way than what a static photo can do. But what I would say to that person is, it's better the best thing to do is copy genius while committing yourself to developing your own. There's already a lot of successful examples of content that you can recreate and make it relevant to your niche by changing the subject matter or changing the hook, right? So I have a club, what Josh was referring to. I have a private community. It's called the Creative Genius Club. It's for creators and business owners that want to get to their first or next 10,000 followers and want to become impactful content creators and learn how to create content that's going to attract the right people, get you engagement, followers, sales, and all that type of stuff. Inside that club, I'm blessed with a very creative mind. So I'm on social media. I don't look at content the same way everybody else looks at content, right? Most people consume it as a consumer. I consume it as an analyst. What made that funny? Why did I watch this from the beginning to the end? What was it about the timing of the value drop that captivated my attention? What was the hook that made me stop my scroll? And why I study this stuff. It's good. And then I dissect the creative elements and I dissect the concept and I feed those concepts and those templates and those ideas to everybody inside of my private community. So whether you got 5,000 followers, 50,000 followers, 500 followers, or 5 followers, I create these templates and I feed ideas that can be used by anybody at any level, no matter what niche that you're in. So I would say, find people who are already creating content or find content that is being produced by people who are successful in your niche and try to recreate that content for yourself. But you should always be, working on developing your skill sets, your core skill sets, so that you become a little bit more independent and you open up more room for your personal creative genius to take effect and your authenticity to shine through your content as well.
I love that. That's so amazing. Now, as we get ready to bring it in for a landing, I want to circle back to your story and as it pertains to your entrepreneurship journey today.
Yeah.
Because you finally, I don't want to say hit the arrival point, but you're sustaining your family, you're taking care of yourself, you have lifestyle, you're not having to grind at someone else's job all the time.
Right.
And what was the lowest point for you on this path? And how did you navigate through that lowest point to get to where you are today, the Monty Lands that we know? What was the lowest point that you could recall, and how did you go about navigating through that?
Thank you for asking that, real, because what I'm going to share is what I think is the core of being successful at anything that you're doing, let alone social media, right? So I won't really say I've had like the lowest point, but my starting ground's very different than what a lot of people would imagine. So I got started during the pandemic. I did have 5,000 followers already because I had been on Instagram since 2012. So my friends, neighborhood friends, people I played basketball with, did comedy with, from all the stuff that I did prior. So I started off with 5,000 followers. But I didn't really know what I was doing. I couldn't really consider myself an expert. I didn't know where to start to start building my business and getting clients. There was this app called Clubhouse. Anybody familiar with Clubhouse?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So Clubhouse is like an audio app. Like you can do like community chats and talk about different topics with people all over the world. It was a very popular app during the pandemic because everybody was quarantined and stuck at home. So it was the one way that you could get a sense of community and feel like you weren't alone. So I heard about that app a few times, and one of my best friends convinced me to get on it. And I started going into these social media rooms and these networking rooms, and it was amazing. I met so many people, right? And the crazy thing is this: we found a room that usually had about 300, 400, 500 people in it at a time, right? And it was a networking room, so you would get an opportunity to introduce yourself. But because of how many people were using or were in the room or in that conversation, you'd only have about 15 seconds to introduce yourself, let people know what you do, and cross your fingers that somebody's interested enough to come follow you on Instagram and inquire about your services and products. I would go in that room, and within a matter of 10 seconds, there would already be 300 people in it, and I'd be like number 248, number 300 something, right? I would go in those rooms, and I would be on that app patiently waiting for 5 hours to speak for 10 to 15 seconds.
Wow.
And from doing that, because my Instagram was connected to my profile on Clubhouse, people would hear me talk, they'd go check out my Instagram and then go to my page and then go follow me. And I started seeing that my following was growing because my content wasn't hitting like that at first. It wasn't on point like it is now. So I had to rely on other means of growing my audience. So I saw that I was growing some following, so I would do another room that same day for another 3 hours, wait about an hour, speak for, sometimes 20, 30 seconds if the room was smaller. I did that every day, Monday through Sunday, for 6 to 8 hours a day for 6 to 12 months.
Wow.
That's the part that nobody's going to tell you. That's the work that nobody wants to do. See, everybody wants to hold the torch, but they don't want to go through the fire that sits on it.
I love that.
Right? I was in the trenches, networking, manually sending DMs, hundreds of them every single week. Eventually, I got to a point where people recognized me on the app in the different rooms I was in. My friend and I started our own club. So we had our own community of a couple thousand people. And we did rooms every single day. And then I launched my first workshop, online workshop, and I made like a few $1,000s selling it at $25 a person. And then from there, it snowballed into me getting more comfortable working with people one-on-one. I built my own course. I did a $20,000 course launch, and then doing one-on-one clients. I started off charging $100 per client. Then I worked my way up to like $1,500, $2,000 packages. And then eventually I transitioned into launching my community because I realized there's so many people out there with great businesses, great ideas, great intentions, but financially they can't afford to pay for a high ticket coach that would normally charge $3,000 to $5,000 to work with them, right? So their business dies out because they don't have the capital to do it. So I want to give people an opportunity to get high level coaching, high level information, and high touch connection with me and with the community that we have of amazing people for practically nothing. It's $47 a month. You can cancel at any time. Like, it's super affordable, super manageable, and you can stay in it for a longer period of time and develop with other people and develop with me and get real close interaction with me and coaching from me so you can grow as a creator and therefore grow your business. So since launching the club, we've had people that went from 1,000 followers to over 10. We got people that have gone from 2,000 followers to over 5. We got people that were able to make their first sale from their content because of using ideas that we share inside the club. And it's people from all different walks of life. We've got people that are in their 60s in the club, people who are, young teen or late teens, early 20s in the club. Doesn't matter, man. It's for everybody. So, if that's something that you're interested in, obviously we can talk about that. But, at the end of the day, like, you just have to put yourself in position to grow. You have to be willing to invest in yourself to get the best for yourself, period.
Yeah, really, really good, man. I have some. I have a last few questions. I have like 2 or 3 questions
sure.
for you as we wrap up. The next question I have is, what advice would you give to the struggling entrepreneur,
Yeah.
the person out there who feels like giving up, or maybe they're not seeing any traction?
Yeah.
Not only you're a content creator, but you're also an entrepreneur. You build this as a business. And as you know, sometimes the money's flowing in, and then you have those times where the contracts come to an end and you have to keep rebuilding. You have to stay on the grind.
Yeah.
So what would be that advice you would give?
I mean, I don't want to sound cliche or anything like that, but, if your vision is big enough, right, you can get through anything. Your vision for what you want to accomplish has to be greater than the size of the challenges you're going to face along the journey of pursuing to accomplish that thing, right? So take time and recommit yourself to the reason why you started doing what you were doing. Take out a journal. And I know this is weird for a lot of people. It's weird for me as well, or was weird for me as well. But take time and write down every single storm that God has gotten you through. Every single challenge that you overcame, whether it was health challenges, financial challenges, relationship challenges, spiritual challenges, write it down.
Yes.
Print it out. Put it somewhere where you can see it every single day. So you can remember, okay, God got me through that. He can get me through this. Right? Like, one of my biggest inspirations, like my faith is in my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. You may or may not have the same faith as me, and that's fine. I'm not here to push it on you. But like, one of my goals beyond just helping people with content creation is inspiring more people who have large platforms on social media to speak Jesus' name, to at least introduce his name to people publicly, not force it on people, but just to let people know who their source is, right? And in order for that to happen, I have to do it myself, right? So I have to be willing to go through my own fires, fight through my own storms, and still stand on the top of the mountain and say who the source of my strength is and my perseverance is, so that I can inspire other people to have the courage to do the same exact thing. Regardless if you have the same faith or not, it doesn't matter, but you have to go through the hard things. That's part of your story. Embrace the challenges you're going through now, because it makes you more credible and it makes you more relatable to the people that you want to invest their hard-earned money into you.
That's right.
Use it as your source.
I love that. So, so good. What would you say is in the vision or in the pipeline over the next 10 years? Where is Monty in 10 years?
Yeah, great question. Faithfully, my community will grow to over 100,000 people in the next 10 years. By next year, the goal is to have 2,000 creators and business owners inside the club, learning, growing, impacting the world through their content, developing their skills and their confidence, becoming leaders in their own right. I do want to start traveling around the world internationally and speaking on stages to inspire other creators. And just have a multifaceted business where I can just help thousands of people at a time and empower other people to do the same exact thing. And I have to say this, like, I don't know if you have another question, but I have to say this, like, the power of Instagram. Anything that's worth having is worth getting good at the thing you need to do to have it. Let me just read these numbers to you really quickly. When I first started on Instagram, 1 month of me posting content every day, I'd probably reach like 3,000 people when I first started. It was very frustrating. It was very difficult for me to get acclimated to figuring out how to edit, what buttons to push, what's creative, what's engaging, what's a good hook. And it took me a long time. And I remember I struggled to reach like 10,000 people in a 90-day period with my content, right? But over the last 4 years of me dedicating my time to studying the craft, practicing, getting over my ego, being willing to be bad until I got decent, until I got good, until I got great. It took me some time. I put in my 10,000 hours. I put in my 10,000 pieces of content to get where I'm at. In the last 30 days, I did the math. In the last 7 days, I looked at my insights. I reached 385,000 people. Right?
Nice.
And I'm just saying this for perspective, not as a flex. In the last 30 days, I reached 406,000 people. So that means 20, whatever the math is, 23 days, I only reached about 21,000 people. So it's cyclical, right? But in the last 30 days, I reached 406,000 people. In the last 90 days, I reached 1.8 million people. That's 600,000 people a day. How many of you are willing to be bad for a few months until you get good enough to start reaching 50,000 people a week? Raise your hand, make some noise.
Oh, yeah.
How many of you are willing to be bad until you're good for about 12 months until you get good enough to start reaching 100,000 people a week? Make some noise. How many of you are willing to be bad for the next 3 years and 5 years? Make some noise, right? There's a little hesitation there, right? So if there is hesitation in taking 3 to 5 years to get good at something that's going to get you results like this, whatever it is that you're working on, you don't want it bad enough, or it's not that important to you. In the last 4 years, I've been developing my skills, developing my knowledge, dedicating myself to this craft, going through all the fires that I had to go through, all the struggles, all the challenges, all the imposter syndrome. And now I'm at a place where I can impact 1.8 million people in 90 days. And here's the kicker, for free. You got to get on social media, y'all. And you got to take content serious.
So good, so good, so good. Nice, nice. I love that. Where can they find you? And where's the best place to reach out to you if people want information on anything that you have going on? And what would be the last parting words that you would share?
Yeah. So you can find me on Instagram, Monty Lance, MontyLans.
It's up there, back there. Yep.
Yep. If you want to chat with me afterwards, you can. I have cards that will take you right to my club if you're inspired and you want to join the club for at least a month. I always tell people, just get in for at least a month. If you don't like it, you can cancel, but I know you're going to love it. So I have some cards I'll give you so you can join the club. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I would just say to you, keep doing what you're doing right now. Like, you're investing in yourself, right? You can't expect people to want to invest their hard-earned money into you and your business where you're not even motivated enough or have enough confidence or belief in what you're doing to invest in yourself, right? The more you invest in yourself and improve yourself, the more people you can impact and the deeper you can impact the people with whatever it is that you're building. So take it serious. Continue to surround yourself with people like Josh and people like Pam and the whole team that's here right now. Surround yourself with people who are inspired and motivated, because you are going to go through those ups and downs in life where you feel low, where you feel discouraged, and you need to be reminded by the people around you that there's something that's worth fighting for no matter what it is that you're going through. And I promise you, you do that long enough, you will look back and you'll realize, wow, I did an amazing job. This is what I'll say. Here's the last thing. I'm sorry. You're going to go through 4 phases of growth in everything that you want to be great at. Phase number 1, right, is unconscious incompetence. It means you're bad, but you don't even know that you're bad. You're doing something wrong and you don't even know what it is. A lot of people quit in that phase. This thing ain't working. It ain't me. It's something else. A lot of people quit. Phase 2 is conscious incompetence. Now you're bad, but at least you know that you're bad. You're bad and you know what it is that's bad. Maybe you got a mentor like a Josh or like a Pam, right? And they're able to point out where the flaws are and where you need to improve. And if you put your pride to the side and you allow yourself to be worked on and to develop, you'll transition to phase 3, which is conscious competence. It means that now you're good. Now things are working. You just have to really focus. You have to be really locked in. It's not second nature yet. But you start seeing results. And then when you stay in that phase long enough, eventually you transition to unconscious competence, which means you are good and you don't have to think about it. Kind of like your auntie or your grandma in the kitchen. They not measuring nothing. They just throwing it here. They on the cell phone, get away, move the cat, go walk the dog, go do this, go do that, right? It's unconscious. You work long enough, you get to unconscious competence. Yeah. So remember that. Put that in your notes. I will reach unconscious competence in what I'm doing. And remember that every single day. And I promise you, you will be successful.
I love it. Love it. Give a hand for Monty Lance. Yeah. How many of you guys got value from that? You guys get value? Thank you, brother. Really, really awesome. I mean, we appreciate having you here. And feel free to reach out to Monty. Hit him up in the DMs. And thank you. You guys getting value so far? Yeah.
Thanks again for tuning into this episode. It would mean the world to me if you can follow, subscribe, share, or even leave a review. I look forward to putting out more content, and we'll see you on another episode.